What up, players? Warboss Tay up in this mug. Sit back, relax, get ready for a little bit of a waffle as I talk about my reaction to Chapter Master Volrak's video talking about the leaked rumors as to what is going to be in the Bretonnian army box, which is going to be the first release for Warhammer the Old World game, coming out, looks like in Q1 of 2024. We were hoping we would get to see it before the end of the year, but it looks like 2024 is when we'll really be seeing this game coming out. And he did talk about in his video the Bretonnian army box set as well as the Tomb Kings box set. I'm only going to be talking about Bretonnia. Bretonnia is a very iconic faction. Warhammer Fantasy seemed to really focus on the Empire in its last iterations as being the good guys. Bretonnia kind of took a back seat, but the Arthurian look, the iconic look of knights in shining armor charging down a field, smashing through the enemy lines. This has always been a very, very colorful and intriguing, interesting, and enthralling concept. For a lot of us who were getting into war games when we were younger, knights in shining armor charging down the field was something that we instantly recognized, something that instantly hooked us. So people who got into Warhammer Fantasy through Bretonnia have these miniatures in their collections and still have fond memories of taking their knights onto the field of battle. Now, these are rumors we're going to be talking about. Chapter Master Volrak's video has reiterated that these are rumors from his source. He trusts his source. He thinks these are going to be true, but until Games Workshop actually confirms any of this information, we're really going to be shooting from the hip and giving our best guesses as to what the army box is going to contain and what the future for the old world is going forward. In fact, what the overall concept and vision of this game will be, because all of these armies exist. They're out there already. Games Workshop has a long history of making all these Warhammer Fantasy armies. So we've got in the Bretonnian box set a big block of men-at-arms, peasant bowmen, some units of knights, 3 Pegasus knights, and a brand new Lord on Pegasus, never before released. Everything else I believe we've seen before. You're going to be seeing some pictures in this video of the Warhammer community articles that they've released that are trying to drum up the hype for Bretonnia in particular and the Warhammer Old World game. Now, like I said, Tomb Kings also has a box coming out, an army box coming out, and the idea is it's a brand new concept, and we're going to be talking about it. Instead of releasing a big box like Leviathan, which was to celebrate the launch of 10th edition Warhammer 40k, where you get Space Marines and Tyranids, ideally, as long as both of you have the rules, one person could buy that Leviathan box and they could share the miniatures. He could sell or trade or give away. If you wanted to play the Space Marines, he could give the Tyranids to somebody else. And you could have 2 people that get to enjoy the game of Warhammer 40k with one box, just sharing the rules between them. Now with the Warhammer the Old World game, the launch armies look like they're going to be Bretonnia and Tomb Kings, but we did hear this before. They're not going to have a starter set. And I remember when one of the YouTube commentators had mentioned this from Warhammer Fest, a lot of people were kind of taken aback, like, how could you launch a new game without a starter set? Well, because all of these armies already exist. These sculpts already exist, except for the new weapons and helmets, as well as the Lord characters on these on the roster here. The peasant bowmen, the men-at-arms, the knights, the Pegasus knights, they're already in a lot of people's collections. A lot of people have them. So there's no starter set with these boxes, or with these units. I think the reason for that is because Games Workshop would have to create new sculpts for the men-at-arms and the bowmen and the knights and the Pegasus knights. I don't think they want to do that. I think the idea is we take models that we've already have the molds for and we cram them into a big box. In this case, Bretonnia is going to get 70 miniatures. The Tomb Kings are going to get 90. So we're talking big boxes with a lot of miniatures in them. We include, we're going to get a brand new figure. The Lord figures are completely new. So the Lord on Pegasus is going to be a new figure. The I think it's a Lich Priest or a Lich King on, or a Tomb King on a dragon, some kind of zombie dragon for the Tomb Kings. And then they're going to sell that to us with the rule book for the old world, as well as the army book. So we're going to get the Bretonnia book in this box. You don't have to go looking separately for the Bretonnian book. I don't even know if they're going to release it separately. It looks like they want you to get the rule book and the army book with these big army boxes. And that's how they're going to sell it. That's how they want to package it and sell it to you. So I'm thinking it's going to be over $200. That means that you're going to spend $200 for your army box. Somebody else is going to spend $200, and then you can have a game between the two of you. Now, when you look at these pictures from warhammercommunity.com, these knights are not the bright, colorful rainbow spectrum that we saw earlier in this video. These are very much knights that fight under the same banner using the same colors, the red and black of the, I think it's called the Red Hand, or the Red Duke of Bryan is the character that they're painting all these models to fight under. It's interesting because Brittonian has always been advertised as an army full of noble sons from a number of different noble houses, all vying for glory, all coming to battle with their specific color schemes and their specific heraldry to fight alongside noble sons from other houses. Everybody's repping different colors. So you've got these units of knights that just look like a bag of Skittles charging down the field. It's really glorious. I did see a fully painted Bretonnian army back when I used to live in Hawaii. A good friend of mine had a fully painted, beautifully done with transfers and everything, completely highlighted, painted Bretonnian army. And when he put them on the field, they looked fantastic. They look so much better than this picture. You got two knights units all in the same red and black. You can't really tell one apart from the other. Like, it's not what Bretonnia is about to me. So it looks like they're really trying to press the notion that these knights are fighting under a unified house, under a unified lord. And I'm going to give you my thoughts as to why that is. You notice that you can't pick out really specific details in these knights. You see the black, you see the red. They're very vibrant. They're very like eye-catching. You can see the colors, and your brain recognizes the red and the black right off the bat. But you're not seeing specific shapes. You're not seeing, for example, the bits in the horse mouths, or the little bit of plastic connecting the horse's front hoof to the base, the slaughter base. That's because these are old sculpts. These knights, these footmen, these peasant bowmen are the same sculpts that Games Workshop created in the 90s. And you can tell by looking at the top of the banners. That big chunky fleur-de-lis symbol is that old cartoony chunky fleur-de-lis, but they painted it in silver and they gave it a heavy wash of Nuln Oil, and they they took this picture so that you can't really see the shape of that topper of the banner. You can't really see how clunky the sleeves on the men-at-arms are because they painted them in black. I think the red and the black was a very conscious choice, a creative decision that Games Workshop wanted us to not really see the goings on. They didn't want us to see. If they painted these men-at-arms in the colors that they had originally, the red and the blue of Bretonnia, then I think we would pick out more details. We would say like, oh, these look like the peasant bowmen that I bought in the 90s. You can see how they painted the standard there with the banner topper facing straight on, so that we don't see the shape or the form of what that banner topper is, because they want us to look at the colors. They want us to look at the unit as a whole. They don't want you to pick out specific details of the miniatures, or else you're going to be able to tell that these are the same miniatures that I first started playing this game with when I was a teenager. I wonder why that is. When you've got, on the other hand, they're releasing all this crazy stuff for Cities of Sigmar. The aesthetic for the Games Workshop miniatures nowadays is completely different. For their Age of Sigmar range, Cities of Sigmar is really pumping out the steampunk, high dark fantasy, whereas these old Bretonnian tired miniatures, that you got that old trebuchet in the back, the peasant bowman here in the front, I think they're trying to mask the fact that these are the old sculpts. And the way they're going to get around that is by introducing all of the miniatures that they've did first reveals and first looks for, like the Paladin on foot, the Elise Duchard, the Battle Standard, which is also going to be in resin. I forgot that they had mentioned that. I don't know why that flew over my head, but that battle standard you're going to see was done in resin. So they want these new miniatures to fit the aesthetic of the old armies because, here's my tinfoil conspiracy theory, they're not going to be doing a lot of updated sculpts, updated kits. They're not updating the peasant bowmen or the men-at-arms. They're not giving us new Knights of the Realm. Like, look at this horse. This is the old horse from the 90s. You can see that the tail is that big, clunky, cartoony tail. It's got that weird bit of plastic under the mouth connecting the bridle or the bit in the mouth to the reins. This is the old school horse that they gave a nice, fresh, new paint job to, but by using red and black, very darker colors which don't pop out as much, then they want to conceal, like I said, a lot of the sleight of hand that they're doing here. Oh, look, we've got a beautiful hunting falcon, and that might be a new new helmet. And they did show off that they were making brand new Bretonnian helmets and weapons. You remember that article? I always wondered why they didn't show us like a fully kitted out brand new knight using these helmets and weapons, or a brand new unit, because they're not going to make new units of knights. They're going to make an upgrade sprue like they do with the chapter-specific Primaris upgrade sprues, and they're going to chuck that into the army box, where you're still going to have these old, tired models, like this poor horse. Just retire this horse already. This horse has seen enough. But at the same time, you can add some fancy schmancy things like this hunting falcon or the brand new helmets or weapons. I did notice too, when they released those pictures of what they're working on for the Bretonnian range, they look very much in line with the models from the 90s. So they're going to fit in without too much of a glaring difference. And that's because they don't want to do, I don't think they want to do new sculpts of a lot of things. They want to save the money because they've got the sculpts. So why should they create something brand new like the new cavalry for the cities of Sigmar with all the great detail and the way they come together so easily, when they can have these old 1990s horses with the cartoony tails and the little bit of plastic that's supposed to look like high grass or something connecting its front hoof to the base. This makes me think that they're going to really try to hype up and get our excitement going for the Lord models, the character models that they're saying, oh, look at this Elise Duchard, look at this battle standard bearer, look at this paladin on foot. Isn't this amazing? When they really just look like the old range, maybe with a little bit of cleanup along the lines and maybe not as much chunkiness and cartoony proportions. They're not going to give us brand new Knights of the Realm. Which, when you're Bretonia, the Knights of the Realm are the iconic unit in your army. That makes me think when it comes to Empire and orcs and goblins and the dwarves, they're not going to give us new orc boys. They're not going to give us new state troops or new dwarf warriors with hand weapons and shields. I think they're going to rely on a lot of us old-timers having the models in our collection to field big armies and to play big battles. I think that was a bit of what they were doing subtly with their... Remember that picture in the Warhammer community article of the huge dwarf army with all the old models in metal? They had I think they had the dwarf king on the throne, or the grudge thrower and the flame cannon. Models that we hadn't seen in any way, shape, or form through Games Workshop or the White Dwarf since before the end times, years and years and years ago, before Age of Sigmar. I think they want us to use our old models. I think they want to sell us this new game, the old world, but they want us to use what we already have. And that means that they're not going to be bringing in a lot of new people, because a lot of new players are going to look at the price tag for a big unit of repackaged, updated artwork, men-at-arms and Bretonnian knights, and or the new army box set, and they're going to say, why would I go out on a limb and pay like hundreds of dollars for these miniatures when I can already play like Age of Sigmar? I think they're going to be relying a lot on the old timers that have the big collections of armies and the big collections of miniatures to field them again. And they're going to try to sell us with these new characters, like, look at this amazing paladin on foot. It kind of just looks like a conversion or a kit bash of a Knight of the Realm with maybe like the lower half of I don't know, like a great sword or a some other armored figure. Yeah, I'm expecting more. I was expecting to be really blown away by these figures, but you can't be. If Games Workshop designed an entirely new, like really fantastic looking Bretonnian knight that could stand up to like a lot of the other third party sculptors today, then it wouldn't fit the majority of their range, which they're not looking to update. I think also, here's another conspiracy theory. This might be why they're not going forward with Kislev. It was too big of an investment to say, let's make this whole new army. I think what they wanted to do was take the resources for designing and creating whole new plastic kits for Kislev. And they said, no, let's not waste the molds and let's not create new things. Let's just use people's nostalgia and their existing collections, and we'll make some character models. We can spread all this design and all these new resources over all of the armies. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I hope they make upgrade sprues for all of the iconic units. Like if they do an updated heads and weapons set for the orc boys, then okay, I'll buy your old box of orc boys if they have things that will make them look more in line with the new things. Or like the state troopers. The state troopers are already pretty like new. I think state troopers came out after the orc boys did. I don't remember the last time the orc boys got an update. The savage orcs are like the latest orc kit that look really nice and have a lot of detail and cool looking things. So that's my idea. That's what I think is going to happen. And I think it's kind of a bummer that they want you to buy these big army box sets that have like maybe one new sculpt and then some upgrade sprues thrown in with a bunch of old kits. And that anything they design, this is the hardest pill to swallow, I think. Anything they design like this paladin on foot has to line up with the old sculpts, because they're not going to redo the old sculpts. They're not going to update the old kits. Everything they create from this point forward has to be comparable and look like it's like in the same wheelhouse as the other kits in the army. It's a bummer that I think this is why they went with the red and black color scheme, because I think they wanted to mask a lot of the old range shortcomings when it comes to a lot of what they've produced recently. But I might be wrong. Maybe they just really like Bryan and they like the red and black color scheme for it. What do you think? Let me know what you think. Are you still as hyped about the old world as I am? I've tempered my expectations and I'm going more skeptical, and I think that's a healthy way to be when it comes to these big releases. And I actually think this is a good reason why I haven't been approached by Games Workshop to paint these miniatures and hype them up. I think not having any professional tie to Games Workshop allows me to be more independent with my thinking and my commentary on these miniatures. I can be a little bit more believable as a source. And that's what I want to be to you guys. I want to promote what I think is good. I want to call out the things that I think are bad. And this old world release, I'm starting to be a lot more skeptical about. The flip side of that is that I've never played Tomb Kings. So when you're telling me that you're going to try to sell me a 90 miniature box with new Tomb King rules, the rule book for the old world, and the new sculpt, I'm a little bit more inclined to say, okay, maybe I'll go out for that. If the new hero, the Lich King on the zombie dragon, and the new Tomb King Knights, whatever they're going to look like, if they're going to be really jaw-droppingly good, then I might say, yeah, all right, I'll fork over a couple hundred for that. But then you got to balance that out with the fact that the new sculpts, whatever they're doing, is going to really have to line up with the old Tomb King warriors. And those skeletons, boy, those skeletons look their age. If you Google search the Tomb King skeleton warriors, oh boy, the new grave guard that they did for the last updated release, that looks pretty good. They're bigger and they're chunkier, but the skeleton warriors with the shields, They look kind of rough. And here's the last model I want to close on. It's the resin battle standard bearer. I don't know if Games Workshop is going to do it or Forge World is going to do it, but like it looks impressive. And again, though, you can see its ties to the other Bretonnian figures and sculpts. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you take a look at or compare this to the new Cities of Sigmar miniatures and those banners and how everything is going for a lot more thin, realistically proportioned, and more detailed, this does look a little chunky. This looks like the old school metal Bretonnian battle standard bearers. So let me know what you think down in below in the comments. Do you think we'll ever get a return to the bright, beautiful, glorious rainbow colors of Knights of many different houses without having to use special rules like Crusading Knights or Knights in Exile? I'd love to know what you think. Leave me a comment down below. Hit the like button before you go. And don't forget to head to our Discord. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Laters, players!